And it's time for a brand new The Comic Haul with no drug testing, no talk about amendments and grabbing pussy and guns and rigging elections and shit. Who wants to watch that bullshit? Not me. I already know I'm going to vote for president. I don't give a rat's ass about anything else right now because I know who I'm going to vote for and I know what they stand for. And I guess this one's just for the people who are undecided. But come on, man. A couple weeks away from the election. Just get it over with. I'm so sick and tired of it. But we're not here to talk about that shit. We're here to talk about comics, man. This is the Comic Haul. What is a Comic Haul? It's my weekly show where I talk about what I bought at the comic book store with the money that I got from working on my job in a prosperous time over the last few years. Just saying. Granted, I do have to start cutting back because I'm starting to spend a little too much because I do have other stuff I need to do because I'm also a homeowner, which is a byproduct of prosperity, and a car owner and dad, and yeah. Anywho, this is a Comic Haul. Ugh, not a big fan of that. Anyway, the drink. Anyway, these are the comics I bought this week. These are all stuff that came out this week. It's not everything. This is the haul. This is not everything that came out this week. There are a few things that I cut out of my list because I need to start saving money. There's probably some I could have cut from here today, but you know what? It was less than it was last week, and last week was a little bit more than the week before, but regardless, you understand. Anyway, what is the show about? Well, I talk my comics. The comics I get, I show you the covers, I show you some interior artwork, a little bit of the story, and try to convince you to go to the comic book store. Comic books are great. They're fun. I mean, if you don't want to go to a comic book store, that's fine. They're available online now. You go ahead and buy them online and read them right off your tablet, your computer, your phone, even if you wanted to. But I prefer the floppies, as they call them. I've been a collector for a really long time, and I got a huge collection, and my wife would love to burn my collection. Speaking of my wife, she's listening to the debates. I think she's just there to watch the train wreck. I hope. Anyway, enough about the shit. Let's talk comics. Of course, seems like everybody else is glued to the debate because I got no viewers. So here's to you, no viewers. All these comics came out this week. Not all of them. I didn't buy every single comic that came out, so there was a lot more that came out this week that I didn't buy. Just go to your local comic book store. Just check it out. Go to the Comic Shop Locator Service. Go to your search engine, type in CSLS or Comic Shop Locator Service. Take you to the website. You type in your zip code, and it'll give you all the comic book stores in a 30-mile radius or 50. I don't remember, but it's one of those two. And you find your store, and you go to your store, and you see what they got. They might got good stuff. They might got bad stuff. If they got bad stuff, you go to another one that's good stuff. I'm lucky. I got a bunch of really good ones all within the 30-mile radius, so I'm in good shape right now. I mean, each one is good in their own way. They're ones I prefer, obviously. But, oh well, doesn't matter. So, enough of this Twitter tatter. I've been talking for 3 minutes about nothing. Who wants to hear about that? Let's see some comics. So, I'm going to point out a few things. I start with DC, then do Marvel, then do Independence. This is the week where a lot of new storylines are starting up on the DC Rebirth books, including this one right here. It's Batman #9. Nice cover. And up here at the top, they're going to start putting these banners of the names. I Am Suicide Part 1. I noticed that on all the books, and I'll put them out on all the books that I got. So this is Batman #9, beginning of a new story arc, and it's Tom King is the writer, and I'm extraordinarily happy because nothing against David Finch, but Mikel Janin is a fantastic artist, and we get reintroduced to Bane, and I love Mikel Janin's artwork. He's just, I mean, it's just an amazing, and I just want to read this storyline and see this artwork. Basically, the premise is Batman has a job to do, so he is going to go to Arkham Asylum, and he's going to create his own Suicide Squad, basically. And so he was filled with his former, well, not former, but his rogues. So should be a lot of fun, and we get the reappearance of Catwoman. So, but Mikel Janin, oh my God, love his artwork. Got to get it, number 9, beginning of new story arc. You probably will be able to start right off the top of this one if you haven't read the other ones, but you know what? You might just want to check it out too. Tom King's been doing a really good job with Batman. So, as I said, nothing against David Finch. I said Mikel Janin's artwork a little bit better. This next one is I still consider to be probably one of the best, if not the best, DC Rebirth book out there. It's Superman number 9. Now, we just saw Superman number 8 last week because they sold out 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't able to get it till last week. So I read it, and now I got number 9 fresh in my hands live. See right up here? Escape from Dinosaur Island. So they're going to start putting the story arc on there. It's written by Peter Tomasi with and Patrick Gleason, I should say. Doug Mackey doing the art, and Jamie Mendoza and Trevor Scott doing the inks. So once again, the story has been great. Crypto, Jonathan Kent, Superman playing dad. Him and Lois are married as they should be. You know, and just, you know, amazing story by Tomasi and Gleason, and Doug, and Gleason does pretty good artwork too, but Monkey also is a good fill-in for him as well. So Superman number 9, definitely go pick up all the previous 8 issues as well. I highly recommend the Superman series, highly. This is another good week because another good book, which I am loving exactly also, is Green Lanterns number 9. Phantom Lantern number 1, part 1. The Phantom Ring, which is a ring that anybody can use. You don't need to be chosen because all the other rings you have to be chosen to do them, but not the Phantom Ring. So who we got? We got Sam Humphries Sam Humphries. Yeah, Sam Humphries is the writer, Robson Roca is the penciler, Jay Leaston is the inker. And it focuses on 2 Green Lanterns, Simon Baz and Jessica. So this looks more like a background on the new villain. So, but you know, I don't know if they're going to show up. Yeah, they might show up occasionally, the main Green Lanterns, but Green Lanterns has always been an interesting character, and with so many of them, I'm just so glad we got a Simon Baz and Jessica book, which I love. Green Lanterns number 9, check it out. The Phantom Ring. If you like the other colored rings, you'll like this one too. Speaking of Jessica and Simon, they're in the Justice League, and Justice League number 7 comes out this week also. It's a good picture of that. The Superman getting ready to bust Batman's face in, and the Justice League fighting each other. It's not because they're mad at each other. They're under control by some demon, whatever. Brian Hitch, the writer. Jesus Marino is the penciler, and Andy Owens is the inker. So Batman versus Superman. Ooh, Martha. Wonder Woman versus looks like Wonder Woman versus Aquaman, and the Green Lanterns against the Flash. So, as I've mentioned before, I've always liked the idea that Aquaman and Wonder Woman were friends. I don't want them dating really or anything like that, being boyfriend and girlfriend, but the fact that they're both royalty basically, and they're both around the same age, that, you know, when they were kids, you know, with Paradise Island being an island, you know, Aquaman could have visited her and they could have had a friend discussion about the pressures of being rulers. You know, I think it's kind of neat. I love this cover. DC's been doing some really good covers. They do variant covers, and they do regular cover and a variant cover. So the Diamond Comics website, the previews, go to the previews, type in previews, Diamond Comics previews rather, and go to the I think it's coming soon or comics out this week or something like that tab, and it'll list all the comics that are coming out this week. Now they've updated it where you get thumbnails of all the covers, including the variants. So that's how I've been going. And every Monday I go in to see what new stuff comes out for the week. I look at the covers like, ooh, I want that cover. I want that cover. Instead of having to go to the comic book store and say, oh, okay, which cover should I get? Should I get this one or this one? Or if one sold out, I was like, oh, okay, I'll just cover this one, and not knowing that the other cover was awesome. But this way I get to see the covers ahead of time. It's like, this is so cool. So I saw this one. Again, as I said, Rise of the Raptor, #1. This is just by Brian Stelfreeze. I just like the Nightwing discovering someone's been investigating his life. It's written by Tim Seeley with art by Javier Fernandez. So Nightwing is fun. Dick Grayson has always been a fairly interesting character. I'm not sure about this Raptor thing because they're supposed to be partners, but all they seem to do is always seem to be fighting each other. So it gets kind of boring after a while. So some interesting history about Dick Grayson and his parents. So who knows? So Nightwing #7, great cover. As I said, there's at least 2 covers for everyone. So if you don't see the cover you like, and you see a different one you like it better, then by all means get it. Harley Quinn #6, Undercover Punker. Yeah, so there's Harley. Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor, writers. John Timms, the artist this week. Jill Thompson did some flashback artwork. So I believe Harley is unfortunately starting to turn into Deadpool, and I'm not a big fan of Deadpool, but I am a big fan. I love the movie, but I'm just not a fan of all the books that include them all together and stuff like that. Here's some of the Jill Thompson stuff. But I trust in Jimmy and Amanda, but it's Harley Quinn, and to me, Harley Quinn just seems like she's starting to get a little overrated. So, ooh, a superhero and supervillain fetish house club is the next storyline. So Harley Quinn. And the Skullbags is her punk rock group. So but in the end, it's like Deadpool. It's a fun series. Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor, great writers, and great artists on their own right too. And oh well, we'll see. This is the variant cover of Trinity #2, Frank Cho artwork, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. I like the first issue of Trinity, and hopefully I'm going to continue liking it as well. It's written and drawn by Francis Manapul. Basically, he's doing everything. So all kinds of crazy, weird stuff going on. And you get to see the 3 of them team up against each other. And not against each other, but with each other. And all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So we'll see what's going on with the comic and see what's happening with it. So, surprise villain in this. I'm not going to surprise it for you, but this is the variant cover. I like the variant cover, so because I like Frank Cho artwork. So, Trinity #2 came out this week. Story. Because I've gotten most of the variant covers, so maybe that just they didn't put the story bar up there. Oh, well. That's it for the Rebirth books. The next one is a mini-series that DC is doing. I love the first issue, and I'm going to love the second issue. I know Raven #2. Marv Wolfman, who basically created her, I think. Yeah. And George Perez creator. And Allison Borges is doing the artwork. It's gorgeous artwork. It's a really good look at the character of Raven, who will be appearing in the Teen Titans book. Maybe putting her a little bit closer to her Teen Titan Go character, which is a really good character too. But you know, you gotta love Raven. You gotta love Marv Wolfman writing Raven and updating her for the Rebirth. You know, it's technically not a part of Rebirth. So, but check it out, Raven #2. You should still be able to find #1 at your local comic store. Now we're gonna depart into the different imprints that DC has. The first up is Young Animal, another new Young Animal book. This one's Cave Carson Has a Cybernetic Eye. I got the Bill Sienkiewicz variant cover. Pretty interesting. Sienkiewicz is one of those artists that I didn't like when I was younger, but as I got older, I started to respect it a bit more. It's written by Gerard Way and John Riviera, and art by Michael Avon Oeming, who does Powers. The Young Animal is, to me, it's likable, but at the same time, it's also really kind of bizarre. And I don't know how much, and it's $1 more expensive than the Rebirth books, so I'm not exactly sure how much longer I get. But here's Appearance by Metal Men. It's right there. And I gotta show you, even though this is a spoiler, but I gotta show you this because this character is getting kind of a rebirth in the Arrow TV show, and I will cover up the bare parts because this is nudity. But Wild Dog's back. Wild Dog's back. Love Wild Dog, and I guess it's the main reason why they're bringing him back, because he's connected to Arrow right now. And then there's a really kind of bizarre backup story with the Wonder Twins. So, go figure. As I said, Young Animal should be interesting. I mean, they're interesting characters. Doom Patrol, Shade the Changing Woman, Cave Carson, and the one I'm really looking forward to, hopefully this will be out next week, is Mother Panic. I really want to see that. So hopefully it'll live up to its thing. But for now, Cave Carson, it has all these appearances by other DC characters, and it's art by Michael Avon Oeming. You gotta love that. And Gerard Way is writing. Doom Patrol is also writing this with John Rivera. So, and finally, the final DC book, right? That I have, yep, is from Vertigo, which is their more adult, mature readers only book. And there's really not much more I can say about this book, except you have to buy this book. You have to go get the trades. You have to read the trades. You have to read all the comics. You have to read everything about this series. Every single issue you have to read of Astro City. Probably one of the best comic books of all time, in my opinion. A fantastic series, and I'm so excited that they're up to issue number 40 right now, because there's always been an interesting story behind Astro City. With Astro City, Kurt Busiek is the writer, and he had Brent Anderson was his artist, and Alex Ross does all the covers and does a lot of some of the character creations as well. As you can see, a beautiful Alex Ross cover. But basically what Astro City is about is it's about superheroes, but it's also about real life. There's a city with all brand new superheroes. They all have sort of, similar archetypes to the DC stuff, but they're all kind of different in their own way. And in this city, we learn about the heroes, we learn about the villains, we learn about their history, we learn about the civilians, we learn about all kinds of stuff. And it covers everything, and it gives you a more fully formed characters, world, an actual world that you could truly believe exists. I mean, this is probably Kurt Busiek's magnum opus, I would have to say. His greatest work is probably Astro City, and I think he'd agree with that. It's probably the one closest to his heart. I cannot enough keep talking about how great Astro City is. Go to the library. They've got great, go to your local library. They've got great graphic novel sections now, so you can get those books out for free. Read Astro City stuff. Or if you really, really want to get the stuff, go to your comic book store. On the weekends, a lot of them have sales going on. I know my store always has a 50% off of trades every weekend. So get two for the price of one. And read them and enjoy them, because they are so good. I mean, we go from stories about, how the Superman and Wonder Woman archetypes in this world have their first date, and how, again, it's kind of cliched how it doesn't go as you expect, but it's not, at the same time, it's not what you expect to happen. You know what I'm saying? And then there was a whole, and the reason why I was amazed by issue 40 is because it has always been one of these sporadic series where it started off as a regular series, but Brent Anderson's a little bit slower artist. He's older because he's been around since the 60s. He's a little bit slower, but he also is a really good artist, so he takes his time. So Anderson still draws maybe half the issues of the year, maybe a little bit more than that, 6 to 8 issues a year probably he draws. So he would do that, and then it would be the books would get late because it would take him forever to get the art done, and then it would jump from, from being DC to Homage Studios to Vertigo to its own stuff, so back and forth. And then they decided just to do a bunch of like one shots, and then a bunch of like they did the Dark Ages, which was 2 series, about 12 issue limited series about a dark period in the time of this town in the 70s. From the viewpoint of a convict and his cop brother. So, I mean, that's kind of what you get from this. So, Astro City number 40. It's written by Kurt Busiek. This one is not a Brent Anderson artwork. This is Carmen Carnero. It's just, it's about characters. I mean, characters where, extraordinary things happen to them. There is, this looks like she's like a lawyer or office worker who's going through all these dimensions, talking to people who work in dimensions. That's the story. It's a job. Someone has that job and they have to do it, and also, there was one where there was people who were helping. They were doing the helpline for their superhero team because superheroes can't answer all the help, so they would do that as well. So I mean, you've got all this crazy stuff. So Astro, as I said, I cannot talk about this. Get this book. If you don't listen to anything I say, get this book. Get the trades. Life in the Big City is the first one you want to get. That's the first issue or first trade. I've got a lot of the comics. I've got a lot of the trades. My goal in life is to get every single trade. So we'll see. Maybe I start working on that because I haven't yet. These 50% off weekends, And that's it for DC. This book from Marvel was one I wasn't really going to get, but I looked at it in the store. I was like, yeah, okay, let's try it out. Marvel's going through another reboot, basically. This one's called Now, and Champions came out a couple weeks ago. Clone Conspiracy that came out last week is the big Spider-Man story now. Now you get infamous Iron Man #1, which is basically Dr. Doom is kind of a good guy now, and he is wearing Iron Man armor. It's written by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Alex Valieve, who had a really good run on Daredevil. As I said, I wasn't going to get the series, but I just started leafing through it and looking at it, and it's like, okay, it's Dr. Doom trying to be a hero. Brian Michael Bendis doing the writing, Alex Valieve doing the artwork. Villains trying to do good. So it intrigued me enough that I was like, you know what, maybe I should just go ahead and get it. So hopefully I'm going to read it. Hopefully I'll like it, and hopefully it'll be added to my list. So infamous Iron Man #1, because I really haven't been a big fan of Bendis' Iron Man series, and now the fact that he's going to reboot that as well with a younger character, a younger girl being Iron Man, I'll have to maybe look into that a little bit. My pumpkin's light's going out. Halloween. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting too, because yes, the whole Now thing was supposed to come out of Civil War II. As we know, Civil War II is still going on, and it's going to go on probably for another 3 months. But they want to get the Now stuff out now. So what they're doing is something I find rather odd. Next up that came out this week is Black Widow #7. And up here at the top, it says #1, No More Secrets starts now. Is it similar to the banner on the DC books? That wouldn't surprise me because Marvel and DC always tend to do similar things. Well, we'll see. I like Black Widow. Mark Waid, Chris Samney. You can't beat that. Black Widow is such a great character. I saw a great Photoshop today of Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow facing off against Daredevil from Netflix, and I think that's like, oh my god, that would be so cool. But until now, we've got the Black Widow comic #1. No More Secrets starts now, It is issue number 7 though, because it's right down here at the bottom. It's maybe 7, so I don't know. But I don't know if it's me or I honestly don't remember the last time I bought a Black Widow book. And I don't know if it was just because it was, they were taking a breather from it or whatever. But I mean, Chris Samney and Mark Waid just did a phenomenal job on Daredevil, and now they're on Black Widow, and it looks just as good, So check it out. No More Secrets, number 1 of issue number 7. And they're doing the same thing with Black Panther number 7. This is number 1. The Crew starts now. Chris Sprouse is the artist. Ta-Nehisi Coates is the writer, and Carl Story's anchor. I've always liked Chris Sprouse. I've met him a couple times. He's a genuinely nice guy, and I like his artwork. And it looks like we got an interesting crew that Black Panther is going to work with. So, as I said, Chris Sprouse artwork is good, and I think a lot of the other characters from the Marvel Universe. So, check it out. Ooh, is that okay? So, keep that going with that. So, Black Panther number 7. Number 1, The Crew starts now. Because then we come to Mockingbird number 8, which I love this cover too, because Mockingbird is hot. And Civil War 2 is the only thing on here. I don't know. But this has been an interesting book, actually. It's been really fun. Chelsea Kane, Kate Nimzik doing the creative team. Not your typical Mockingbird storyline, which is good. They're mixing things up a little bit. They're kind of doing a Hawkeye, a Matt Fraction Hawkeye type of thing to it. So pretty interesting. They're giving that sort of that feel is what it seems like to me. So beautiful artwork. Little history about myself. My dad got me into my comic book collection. Now, those who've watched my show know I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, though, because it's leading into this next book. He started my collection with Amazing Spider-Man. He was the only book that he collected, and he had boxes of them, and he gave them to me when I was old enough he thought he could trust me with them, I guess. And I read them in, looked at them, read them, loved them. At the time, I don't think I could read them. I was just looking at the artwork, and I kind of got the story idea down, and I really loved it. And so that was my first comic book. So when I was old enough and I had enough money to buy stuff, buy comics, I would buy my comics. I would buy Spider-Man comics. They had Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man. I think Marvel Team Up was the other one also. And also I would buy any comics that Spider-Man crossed over into, Avengers, Fantastic Four, whatever. And through that, and also through Marvel Team Up for the most part, that spread me out into, other Marvel books. So I wasn't just reading Spider-Man. I was starting to read the Avengers and the X-Men and so on and so forth. DC came into my life in 1986 because John Byrne was my favorite artist at the time, and he had been doing a run of Fantastic Four, and then he left the Fantastic Four to reboot Superman after Crisis on Infinite Earths. And the minute I heard John Byrne was going to reboot Superman, start over again, I was like, I got to get it. I hadn't read Crisis yet, but I just saw they're rebooting the DC universe. John Byrne's at the forefront. Let's get that stuff. So Man of Steel came into my life at that time. I bought the Man of Steel series, Superman, Adventure Superman. Action Comics. That led to Batman, Wonder Woman, because George Perez was doing Wonder Woman, and then Frank Miller and Dave Mazzucchelli did Batman Year One, which I have the 4 issues of Year One. Yeah, I do. Yeah, score, buddy. Shows good shit. I'm old. And again, I still had my Marvel DC mix, and so I wasn't going total DC crazy. Like I didn't collect the Titans or some of the other things as well. And then things just sort of as I got older, things just sort of just blew up, and I just got everything, and I still am. I got involved in independence. One of the events where I met Chris Sprouse was there was something called Serendipity, which was something they did once a month at a holiday, and it no longer exists in Towson, which is where I grew up. And it was like always like seemed to be like the last Sunday of the month, and they would have just comic vendors in this like ballroom, and then they have some artists in there as well. And like a room so you could sit down and read stuff and stuff like that. So I would, get my money and I would go. My parents would either drop me off or I would take the bus or I'd walk because it was a hike, but I could still walk to it. And I would just spend the whole day there, and I would just buy comics, look through the back issue bins, talk to other comic fans. They had anime was being shown, and then the artists were there. Tom Lyle was an artist that I met there. Chris Sprouse was doing a Legionnaires, which I loved his work on Legionnaires also. So every time I see his artwork now, I was like, yeah, I know Chris. And he talked to us. I mean, this is before he really hit it big. So he would talk to us, sit down, and have full-on conversations with us. Same with Tom Lyle, too, even though no one's heard of Tom Lyle since. But he did a bunch of Robin books. He did Starman, which was a good one. Not the Starman that James Robinson did, but the one before that. The Flyers. Oh, that was Paraback, wasn't it? At one time, Marvel or DC owned the Archie superheroes. The Fly, the Shield, stuff like that. They did their new updated comics of that, and I got those as well. And Tom Lyle, I think, did the artwork for one of those, and Mike Paraback did one of them for the Fly. So anyway, to make a long story short, too late. Clone Conspiracy is the new Spider-Man storyline. I haven't been following Spider-Man in a while, which is weird because he was always my favorite, but I've never, the whole Brand New Day and stuff like that sort of turned me off. And then just them just doing Spider-Man like 3 times a month, it got to be too expensive and it got to be too crazy. And though it's one of those where I should probably dig up the trades and read them because, Spider-Man's my guy still. I still like Spider-Man, but he just isn't as present in my life as used to be. But Clone Conspiracy coming up, Jim Chung doing the artwork, Dan Slott has been writing the book for years now. And he's doing a tie-in. He said the Clone Conspiracy is going to be its own series, but he did a tie-in with his Amazing Spider-Man number 20, The Return of Dr. Octopus, Alex Ross doing the artwork for it. Dan Slott and Christos Gage are the writers. Giuseppe Camuncoli is the penciler, and Camp Smith and Giuseppe are also the inkers. And this is basically, this issue is about how Doc Ock came back to life, because we all know what happened with Superior Spider-Man and all that. So, and there's a really interesting thing going on with clones and all kinds of stuff. So I had to get this because it's part of the Clone Conspiracy storyline. So we'll see what happens. So this is just basically talking about the return of Dr. Octopus, which will be continued probably in Clone Conspiracy number 2. So Amazing Spider-Man 20. So if you want to read all the Clone Conspiracy stuff, I'd recommend getting that as well. That's it for Marvel. As I said, I'm starting to cut back on the Marvels a lot, though. So we'll see. We're going to keep that up. The DCs are starting to overwhelm them again. It was always kind of, it was weird. It was kind of reversed because for the longest time I was big Marvel, and then I got into big DC. I think I always had been a big DC guy. And then I got a little bit more into Marvel, but I still was a big DC guy. And then they did New 52. And I stayed with it for a while, but I did not enjoy the New 52. So I started, that was also around the time where I stepped away from comics last year for about 9 months. I stepped away from comics then. And so, DC went on its way with this New 52, and I just sort of backed away. Whereas Marvel was rebooting their series every month, every year. So I was able to get caught up on. So then I started getting more Marvels, and then DC Rebirth comes, and I start getting more DC. So I don't know. Finally, we got Independence. Independents are always a good cleansing for Marvel and DC because you get different things. With Marvel and DC, you're pretty much going to get your superheroes, so you're going to get those already. But with Independence, you get all kinds of different stuff. First up is licensing. I just love this cover, so that's why I got it. Back to the Future number 13. Great series. Just more of a following, what. Frequently asked questions about Back to the Future and stuff like that. But Chris Iliopoulos covers fantastic. He's the one who does the I Am books with Brad Metzler, which I highly recommend also for kids. I am Jane Goodall. I am Abraham Lincoln. I'm Amelia Earhart. I'm Lucille Ball. I am Martin Luther King. I am Jackie Robinson. I am Albert Einstein. I'm George Washington. I'm sure I'm missing a couple. I am Rosa Parks. It's a great historical book about heroes, everyday people who are heroes. The next one they're going to be doing coming out in January, I think, is I Am Jim Henson. So you get a little bit different aspect, and and features the artwork by Chris, which is fantastic. But I had to get this cover. Starts a new story arc called Who is Marty McFly? It's written by John Barber and Bob Gale. Bob Gale was the guy who wrote the original Back to the Future trilogy, the movies. So he's writing a comic now. And Emma Vicelli is doing the artwork. So, Back to the Future stuff, time travel. You get to see all kinds of stuff going on with Doc and everybody and see how the future is going and stuff like that. So, and stuff. And I just saw this also. This is not kind of really. This looks really good. It's going to be on BBC America starting on Saturday. I might have to record this because it looks really freaking good. It's got Elijah Wood in it. So it's at 9 o'clock too. Sweet. Oh wait, I'll be doing my show. Oh well. I'm going to record it. Done. I'm going to watch it. But that's besides the point. Again, licensing again, but this one's a little bit different licensing. This is Godzilla Rage Across Time. It's from IDW. What's great about this is it's a Godzilla comic where Godzilla's time traveling, basically going through history and wrecking shit. It's written by Ryan Ferrier with art by Hugo Petras. In this case, he's going to be in England. I'm sorry, not England. He's going to be in England 1348 during the plague. So you've got the plague. And then all of a sudden, big giant monsters start appearing, and who's going to save the day? Oh, not this guy. He's one of the bad guys. Who's going to save the day? Who's going to save the day? Oh, he's actually not in there. Interesting. I guess it's a Mothra story then. I guess that is a good guy. Yeah, there's Mothra. Okay, so Godzilla doesn't even appear in this, but it's the Godzilla monsters going through time. They did Ancient China. This one looks like it's next issue is going to be Godzilla wrecking Greece. So pretty cool. But Godzilla Rage Across Time number 3 is out. So you might be able to pick up the other ones also. It's Godzilla going through time. That's all you need to know. If you like history, you'll like that. Black Hammer number 4, Jeff Lemire, Dean Ormston. Not much really to say about it. It's a unique book, different book. It's about a group of superheroes who are stuck in a small town, and weird things start happening again after they've been exiled there, and they've got to recover from that. So Jeff Lemire has always been a very interesting writer who has me blocked on Twitter for some reason. I don't know. But I still will get his stuff because it looks good, and it's always good stuff. Black Hammer number 4. I just love this cover too. Faith number 4. I hate using this term, but it's basically what it is. It's a plus-size superheroine. It's a stupid phrase, but it's an interesting character, and it takes place at a comic convention where somebody's dressing up as Faith, and Faith is going off on it, looks like. It's written by Jody Hauser with art by Perry Perez and Marguerite Sauvage, who does some of the flashback stuff. So it's a fun book. I don't think you really need to know much about the character because she is a member of Harbinger, who is one of the teams on in the Valiant universe. And I really should be reading more Valiant books, but again, you gotta you gotta, oh, did I show that? Sorry. That's President Clinton. I mean, it was Hillary Clinton. Valiant has been one of the better comic companies, and it looks like they're starting to draw back a little bit. I mean, Bloodshot, Ninjak, Archer Armstrong, Eternal Warrior. They used to have Exo Man of War, Harbinger. I think I said that before. So I'm getting Faith though, because Faith is a good book. Last but not least, another book that I've been raving about, not as much as Astro City, because Astro City is just a classic and it's been around for years and decades, I would have to say. This is just because I'm a big what the hell? No. I'm a big history buff, and I love alternate history. And I've talked about this book before because it's been out for a while. Manifest Destiny, new issue, it's number 24. It wraps up the Sasquatch storyline. The basic premise behind it is an alt history book. Lewis and Clark exploring the unknown wilderness that eventually became the Midwest and the Pacific Northwest. We know they stumbled upon new animal species and Indians and all kinds of neat sights out there, but what if they ran into supernatural stuff as well? Giant frogs, giant mosquitoes, Bigfoot, stuff like that. Well, this series details that. So it's written by Chris Dinges with art by Matthew Roberts and Tony Akins and Stefano Gaudino are the inkers. So it's a historic piece. It's a historical piece. It's creepy as F. A really good historical alt history storyline. Good artwork, good storyline, and hopefully we'll be seeing more of it. So, does it look kind of familiar? Yep, number issue 25 is coming out. Yep. Oh, they're taking a break. They're not going to be back till January. We'll be back in January to celebrate our 25th issue. So they are going to take a break. So this is the last issue probably for a few months. That's okay. It's like a TV series where they're going on a hiatus, but they'll be back. That's this week's Comic Haul. I know I talked a little more than usual, but I'm in a good mood. I'm going to talk real quick about one more thing. I got one more of these before Halloween. So we got to talk about this. Halloween Comic Fest. This is the bag I got from my local comic store because they're going to be involved in Halloween Comic Fest. It's basically free comic book day, but during the fall. And it's not as impressive or well-known as free comic book day is, but they do give out free comics the last Saturday of Halloween, before Halloween. If Halloween has on a Saturday, it would be on Halloween. This year, Halloween's on a Monday, so 29th, excuse me, is Halloween Comic Fest. It's basically going to be, you go to the store, you get free comics. That's it. Again, you don't need to buy anything. Purchases aren't necessary. It's just a way to get more people to come to the comic book store, get a little exposure with like that. Because a lot of the times, a lot of these comic book stores are in malls or strip malls. And right around the weekend of Halloween, a lot of these strip malls and malls, they do trick-or-treating for kids. Because sometimes parents don't want their kids to go out at night on Halloween for whatever reason, but they don't. So they do it in the afternoon on a Saturday, and that's when they said, we should do Halloween Comic Fest. So if we're in a shopping center or a mall that does Halloween trick-or-treat, come to the comic book store, you get free comics. They're all ages, and there's also ones for grown-ups and teenagers, stuff like that. So it's not as big of a variety as you get with free comic book day, but it is free stuff. And it is good stuff. There's a Nightmare Before Christmas one, a Grumpy Cat one, Archie always does one, DC and Marvel, Dark Horse, Image, IDW, they all do ones using their characters. So, a lot of it might be reprints of horror books or whatever, but you know what? That's okay too. Some of them might be original stories as well. Those are good too. Or they might be, snippets of what's upcoming, stuff like that. It's still free comics, okay? And a lot of your stores are going to do sales that week. My stores they always tend to do 50% off of trades. They're doing 50% off everything: toys, cards, clothing, graphic novels, comics, everything under the sun. Glasses is going to be 50% off. So they're going absolutely crazy. So that's Halloween Comic Fest, October 29th. I'll do it one more time next week. Hopefully, I'll be able to get my comics maybe on Wednesday. If not, it'll be the Friday. So come watch my other show. Dylan Knows. I'm on episode 162, I believe. I've been doing that for a while. That's on Saturday. It does have a comic book connection this week. I will be doing my top 10 show with my co-host Jerry Fletcher. We'll be doing the top 10 episodes of Walking Dead on Negan Eve, Saturday night, 9 o'clock, the day before the new Walking Dead comes out on Sunday, which reminds me, if you're a Walking Dead fan of the comics, the new series, new episode, new season begins on Sunday. We find out who Negan killed. Glenn, Abraham, both of them are going to die. You heard it here first. And Maggie's going to lose the baby. And Rick's going to lose his hand. That's all. That's not here there. I also want to announce too. I'm going to announce this officially. I announced it officially last Sunday on my show. Last Saturday on my show. I'm going to announce it here. I'm also going to announce it on my show on Saturday. I'll be doing another show. Doing like a what I call Monday morning zombie hack, which was something I did for a website a couple years ago where I wrote reviews. This one's going to be a video review that I'm going to post Monday morning of my review and opinion of that night's episode of The Walking Dead. So keep your eye out for that on YouTube. Next week, who knows what's going to be out. But next week, I can tell you, is Halloween Comic Fest on Saturday the 29th. Till then, have a good night. Don't watch the debates, but go out and vote November 8th.